Within the intricate tapestry of family life, a dark and often unspoken dynamic can emerge: scapegoating. This phenomenon, as ancient as human history itself, involves the singling out of one individual to bear the brunt of blame, criticism, and negativity within a family unit. The scapegoat, often a child, becomes a repository for the family's unresolved conflicts, their very existence a lightning rod for dysfunction. Imagine a family teetering on the precipice of chaos, its members entangled in a web of their own making. Unspoken resentments simmer beneath the surface, and communication is broken down. In such an environment, the scapegoat emerges as a convenient target, a focal point for the family's collective pain and frustration. The scapegoated child, often sensitive and perceptive, becomes the family's emotional dumping ground. Their perceived flaws are magnified, their accomplishments minimized, and their very presence becomes synonymous with trouble. The weight of this undeserved blame can have devastating and long-lasting consequences. It is imperative to understand the dynamics of scapegoating, to recognize its insidious nature, and to equip families with the tools to break free from this destructive cycle. For in the shadows of misplaced blame, the potential for healing and growth can be found. Scapegoating does not occur in a vacuum. It thrives in families where dysfunction reigns supreme, where unhealthy communication patterns have become the norm, and where emotional honesty is replaced with a culture of blame and denial. In such families, the scapegoat serves a perversely functional purpose. They provide a convenient distraction from the family's deeper issues. One common characteristic of families that engage in scapegoating is the presence of addiction or mental health issues. When a parent struggles with substance abuse or an untreated mental illness, their own emotional turmoil can create a volatile and unpredictable home environment. Children, desperate for stability and security, may become hypervigilant, trying to anticipate and mitigate their parents' moods. In other cases, scapegoating may arise from a history of trauma or abuse within the family. When past wounds remain unaddressed, they can fester and poison the family system. The scapegoat, often the most vulnerable member of the family, becomes a repository for the family's collective pain and shame. Regardless of its origins, scapegoating creates a toxic family dynamic that perpetuates a cycle of dysfunction. The scapegoated child, burdened by the weight of their family's unresolved issues, may internalize the blame and develop a negative self-image. They may struggle with feelings of worthlessness, shame, and isolation. The selection of a scapegoat within a family is rarely a conscious or deliberate act. It often unfolds subtly, driven by unconscious motivations and deeply ingrained family patterns. However, certain characteristics can make a child more susceptible to becoming the target of scapegoating. Children who are naturally sensitive, empathetic, and eager to please are particularly vulnerable. These children, often highly attuned to the emotional undercurrents of their family, may go to great lengths to try to keep the peace and maintain a sense of harmony. Their sensitivity, however, can be misconstrued as weakness, making them an easy target for blame. Children who are different in some way, whether it be their personality, appearance, or interests, may also be singled out. In families that value conformity, a child who marches to the beat of their own drum can be perceived as a threat to the family's fragile equilibrium. Their uniqueness, rather than being celebrated, becomes a source of contention. Birth order can also play a role in scapegoating. The eldest child, for example, may be held to unrealistic expectations, while the youngest may be infantilized and shielded from responsibility. The middle child, caught in between, may struggle to find their place and become an easy target for blame. It is important to note that no child chooses to be the scapegoat, and no child deserves to be treated as such. The responsibility for scapegoating lies squarely with the adults in the family, who must confront their own issues and break the cycle of blame. Imagine for a moment the crushing weight of carrying your family's burdens on your young shoulders. This is the reality for countless children who find themselves cast in the role of the scapegoat. From a tender age, they are bombarded with messages that they are flawed, unworthy, and responsible for everything that goes wrong. Every misstep, no matter how small, is magnified and dissected. Their accomplishments, meanwhile, are met with indifference or worse, dismissed as flukes. The scapegoat's very presence becomes a source of tension, a constant reminder of the family's unresolved issues. As the scapegoat grows older, the blame and criticism they endure can take on new and insidious forms. They may be subtly excluded from family gatherings, passed over for opportunities, or subjected to backhanded compliments and veiled insults. The message is clear: you are not good enough and you never will be. This relentless barrage of negativity takes a heavy toll on the scapegoat's sense of self. They may begin to internalize the blame, believing that they are inherently flawed and undeserving of love and respect. This can lead to a range of emotional and psychological problems, including anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. Section 5. Emotional scars. The profound impact of scapegoating. The emotional wounds inflicted by scapegoating run deep, leaving lasting scars on the hearts and minds of those who have endured it. The constant barrage of blame and criticism erodes the scapegoat's sense of self-worth, leaving them feeling inadequate, unworthy, and deeply unlovable. This can create a profound sense of shame that follows them throughout their lives, whispering insidious lies about their value as human beings. The scapegoat's emotional landscape is often characterized by a pervasive sense of fear. They may live in constant dread of saying or doing the wrong thing, terrified of triggering another round of blame and criticism. This fear can manifest as social anxiety, making it difficult for them to form healthy relationships and navigate the world with confidence. Trust, a cornerstone of any healthy relationship, becomes a fragile and elusive concept for the scapegoated child. Having been betrayed by those who were supposed to love and protect them, they may struggle to open up to others, fearing further rejection and pain. This can lead to a pattern of isolation and withdrawal as they attempt to shield themselves from further emotional harm. The scapegoat's emotional world is often a tumultuous mix of anger, resentment, and a deep, aching sadness. They may rage against the injustice of their situation, only to be consumed by guilt for feeling such intense emotions towards their family. This emotional turmoil can manifest in a variety of ways, from outbursts of anger to periods of profound withdrawal and despair. Section 6. Psychological consequences, a legacy of pain and self-doubt. The psychological ramifications of scapegoating can be far-reaching, casting a long shadow over the scapegoat's life. Growing up in an environment where they are constantly blamed and criticized can lead to the development of deep-seated beliefs about their own worthlessness and inadequacy. These negative core beliefs become deeply ingrained, shaping their perceptions of themselves, their relationships, and the world around them. Scapegoated individuals often struggle with low self-esteem and a lack of self-confidence. They may doubt their abilities in all areas of their lives, from their careers to their personal relationships. This can lead to a pattern of self-sabotage as they unconsciously undermine their own efforts, fearing that success will only lead to more pain and disappointment. The constant pressure to please and appease others, a survival mechanism developed in childhood, can follow the scapegoat into adulthood. They may find themselves in codependent relationships where they prioritize the needs of others above their own, seeking validation and approval that always seems just out of reach. This pattern of people-pleasing can leave them feeling depleted, resentful, and trapped in unhealthy dynamics. In some cases, scapegoated individuals may develop mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, or even post-traumatic stress disorder. The trauma of chronic emotional abuse can have a profound impact on their mental and emotional well-being, leading to a range of symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, and difficulty regulating their emotions. Section 7. Real-life examples. Stories of scapegoated children. The experience of being scapegoated is often a silent struggle, hidden behind closed doors and shrouded in shame. However, countless individuals carry the invisible scars of this insidious form of emotional abuse. Their stories offer a poignant glimpse into the devastating impact of scapegoating and the long journey towards healing. Consider the story of Sarah, a successful attorney who, despite her outward achievements, carried the weight of her family's dysfunction on her shoulders. As the eldest child of an alcoholic father and an emotionally distant mother, Sarah quickly learned that her role was to be the responsible one, the one who held everything together. She excelled in school, took care of her younger siblings, and became her mother's confidant. However, her efforts to please were never enough. Sarah was constantly criticized, berated for her perceived flaws, and blamed for her family's problems. Then there's Michael, a talented musician who struggled to reconcile his passion with his family's expectations. As the only son in a family of high-achieving academics, Michael's artistic pursuits were met with disdain and ridicule. He was told that music was a frivolous hobby, a waste of time and talent. His parents constantly compared him to his siblings, highlighting his perceived shortcomings and undermining his confidence. As a result, Michael developed crippling stage fright, his passion stifled by the weight of his family's disapproval. These stories, while just a glimpse into the vast spectrum of experiences, illustrate the profound and lasting impact of scapegoating. They remind us that behind the facade of seemingly functional families, countless individuals are struggling with the pain of being blamed, shamed, and rejected for simply being who they are. Section 8. Breaking the Cycle: Strategies for Healing and Change. Breaking free from the cycle of scapegoating is a challenging but essential journey for both the scapegoated individual and the family as a whole. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront deeply ingrained patterns of dysfunction. For the scapegoated individual, the path to healing often begins with recognizing and acknowledging the abuse they have endured. This can be a painful and unsettling process, as it involves challenging long-held beliefs about themselves and their family. Therapy can provide a safe and supportive space to explore these complex emotions, to begin to heal the wounds of the past, and to develop a stronger sense of self-worth. Setting healthy boundaries is crucial for breaking free from the role of the scapegoat. This means learning to say no to unreasonable demands, to prioritize their own needs, and to distance themselves from toxic relationships. It also involves challenging the family's narrative, refusing to accept blame that is not theirs to bear. For the family as a whole, breaking the cycle of scapegoating requires a commitment to open and honest communication. This involves creating a safe space where all family members feel heard and respected, where past hurts can be acknowledged, and where accountability can be taken. Family therapy can be an invaluable tool in this process, providing a neutral ground for families to address their dysfunctional patterns and to develop healthier ways of relating to one another. Section 9. Seeking support resources for families in need. Breaking free from the cycle of scapegoating can be a daunting task, but families do not have to navigate this journey alone. There are a wealth of resources available to provide support, guidance, and hope for healing. Therapists specializing in family dynamics, trauma, and abuse can provide invaluable support for both scapegoated individuals and their families. They can help individuals process their experiences, develop coping mechanisms, and begin to heal from the emotional wounds of the past. Family therapy can facilitate communication, promote understanding, and help families develop healthier ways of interacting. Support groups for scapegoated adults can provide a sense of community and validation. Sharing experiences with others who have been through similar situations can be incredibly empowering, reminding individuals that they are not alone in their pain. These groups can also offer practical advice, coping strategies, and a sense of hope for the future. Educational resources such as books, articles, and online forums can provide valuable information about scapegoating, its impact, and strategies for healing. Knowledge is power, and understanding the dynamics of this insidious form of abuse is often the first step towards breaking free.